All right, guys. Today's podcast guest, I'm really excited about this one, John Lovell. John, you introduced yourself, and then I'll get into the background of how we met and stuff.
How many minutes do I have here?
Go for it, man. We got all day. I got nothing till Saturday.
Well, John Lovell, CEO and co-founder of Lovell Sagebrush Insurance Group. We are a commercial insurance brokerage firm specializing in like property casualty, so business insurance, and also employee benefits, group health. Started in 2017 after spending a couple years with a big agency. So a big Mongo agency that gave us all the tools and resources we needed to be successful. And as with a lot of things, businesses that I've been involved in, I'm a really good problem solver. I tend to look for areas of opportunity to differentiate. And I had some really good ideas when I was there, but I was just with it was an established company. It had been around for 100 years, and they had a way of doing business. Yeah. And, I think there was frustration on my part early on before I left to go start my own thing. But as I've looked back on it, wasn't really my place, the new guy coming in to tell them how to do it. But I thought, well, you're missing out on opportunity. And it's more of a big movement that I think is happening just in general is a decentralization of some of these big Mongo companies. You see it in advertising. You see a lot in professional services. Yep. And I really believe there's a lot of desire and need for people to do things better in industries that are confusing, driven by sales and fear. And there's just a great opportunity better than there's ever been. I call it this back to boutique, right? And we heard a lot about it. I think when you first kind of were introduced to what that meant is like, think of the Walmarts coming in, and we used to hear, it's like, oh, Walmart's coming into a community. And it's like, well, it's putting all these mom and pops out of business. It's like, well, they should have innovated and grown and we get lower prices. And someone that's a capitalist, I always thought those were, that makes a lot of sense. That's, this is how it should be, but at what cost and what sacrifice for convenience? And now we look where we are today as a country. And I think there's just tremendous opportunity to serve people well, because ultimately it's people and it's the knowledge, and with the tools and resources that are out there from a technology standpoint, we were able to roll out things that most big organizations couldn't do. And we just focused on customer experience. It was like, look, we got to make this easier for them to understand. We got to represent ourselves as professionals, and we've got to be able to deliver what the big boys do. And so most people think we just started this small little mom and pop firm. And, we have accounts that are publicly traded. We have accounts that do over $50 million in revenue. We have some smaller accounts too, but it really comes down to people, knowledge, and then the ability to execute on things. And no one had focused on the customer experience side. And so anyway,
the barrier to entry is, very small right now.
Yeah.
In terms of
there's never been fewer barriers to entry. Other than aggregation, and we see it a lot in our business, is the strength. So like one of the challenges we were going to find was, how many access to carriers, right? Or resources. You don't have enough people. Well, we just got 2 huge appointments over the past month, one with United Benefits Advisors and then the other with ISU. And really what it does is if you aggregate all the independent agencies across the country that are part of these networks, from a premium volume standpoint, we are just below locked in on benefits revenue, and we're a shared resources platform. And so everybody across the U.S., we're all different agencies with different names. We're part of this umbrella. And it just gives us all the tools that the big guys have that we wouldn't have had access to before. And
interesting. So this is kind of a broad question you've already kind of dove into, but tell me what's broken about insurance? I know there's a lot, but insurance is broken? Why?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that it's confusing. And I always joke, it's purposely confusing. And because of that, you've got, we're a middleman. A middleman is really not a good strategy to be in, but we have to take and sell the carrier's products to our clients and advise them. So there is a lot of distrust because, number one, you don't really understand how your dollars or premiums are calculated. Number two, you don't understand how it works at a time of loss. And number three, it's very sales driven, and you're
all B2B, right? It's all B2B.
Okay. Yeah. And so I think that there's just too many. Nobody walks in when your life's work is this, and you walk in, and the first thing someone says is like, "Just so you know, I hate insurance." Yeah. And I think it's a joke that we say. In fact, it's on our website. Say we hate insurance too, and it says not really. We think that the foundation of why insurance was created is very important. It's a beautiful product.
Yeah.
It's just over time, it's not evolved, and it's not become easier for people to understand. Right. You could say the same thing for law, right? Legal.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
And
financial advisors too. I mean,
right.
Similar.
And there's just, you get into these situations where the salespeople are driven so hard to produce that it's really like, it's like win at all costs.
Yeah.
And so you start to see some nefarious things going on. And I saw it firsthand. And it's like, look, if my best defense is bad mouthing the other agency because they don't have these things, well, what am I really doing?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest problem with it is the confusion. There's, employee health insurance. Like, if we wanted to solve health insurance, I could tell you like two or three things that we could do immediately that would instantly make it better and more affordable. But I can only solve so many problems.
Yeah. Are you guys fiduciaries?
No.
Okay.
Well, gosh, let me rephrase that.
And to be honest, I don't even know what that word really means. I know it's used a lot in the financial services space, but I like
to think that, we are stewards of the money and premium they're spending, but I don't think we're necessarily fiduciaries in that aspect because we're not dealing with investments and things like that.
What about tech? So insurance.
What is technology? What is it?
So there's a lot of
Ollie G.
So the lead gen or the insurance agency or the insurance business in general is very, I think of it as fragmented, right? There's like all these, leads and brokers and who knows who's really selling the end product. Does technology, like where is that curve at in terms of innovation?
Well, it's everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
and are you guys building tech or are you using other tech or both?
Let's take the first part of that. Part of the reason when I left to go start this was I knew there were billions of dollars from Silicon Valley getting poured into insurance business, right?
Yeah.
And I'd already seen some of those tools. So more commoditized products that don't have a lot of nuance or difficulty to them. So you'll see technology like homeowners insurance, it's getting easier and they're doing things to make it better. Small business, you can online rate and get some products. You can get insurance for a small business pretty easily, which is good because a small business takes a lot of time to underwrite and put information together. They've done some things with technology to make it easier. But where I think technology has played a bigger role is not necessarily where it's related to like the insurance industry, so to speak, but it was our method of serving clients and it was our method of collecting data and information. It was still PDFs and these long, just complicated applications. It's like one of the first products we brought on was Indio.
Okay.
And it was this group that they digitized every insurance application in the world from every carrier. And they were all online forms, and it made it super easy for our clients to go through, fill out information that we could do it with it. So technology has been a great way for us to lower cost, number of people that we need to serve well, and we could be faster and more efficient.
And it's more about
and that's just now Google Forms. I was creating Google Forms when I was at the old place. I was like, look, I need to get this info. I can map it over here to this application. I was like, let's make it easier for people because no one wants to fill out this information, right? And then the other thing we brought in, and it was really it's an email platform that's built for
insurance.
No, it's really built for support systems. Like you think of, companies that sell online products, right? And all the support systems, and they're having to funnel support tickets and things like that. Well, it's called Front. And what it is it's got built-in communication tools. We can tag emails to people. We get automatic response times. I get way more data on my clients. So like, hey, you emailed us 1,200 times last year. 80% of those were for certificates. Did you know that we've created a dashboard for you that you could just fill this out immediately and you don't have to waste your time email? We're happy to do it. But if you want to do it faster, it's right here.
Okay.
And so those technologies really flip the service model in our industry.
So it adds to the customer experience, makes it easy for them.
We want to let them do what they want to do, however they want to do it. You want to call us, you want to email us, you want to chat with us, you want to text us.
How has that falls into the sort of small business marketing automation game, which is a challenge for a lot of small businesses where I feel like you can overcomplicate it real quick. Like, how have you kept it simple, in terms of like you talk to anybody that's doing, using HubSpot or any of the, small business marketing automation platforms, it's like, oh, I can tag this, I can do that, I can have this sequence and this funnel and this landing page. And it's like, holy shit.
Well, I've kissed a lot of frogs along the way.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Because the one thing, so we have a pretty good blend of, I'd say, I'm using my words carefully. It's, we've got some younger and we've got some other people, some older that have been in the industry for different ways. Sure. And they both bring so much to the table. Some of the, like Chris in our office is very tech savvy. So like if I get a new software I want to test or try, I can send him on it. He understands it and then he can help roll it out to the team. Yeah, so like when you're getting ready to take everybody from Outlook to Front, by the way, it looks and feels just like any other email inbox. It's just stuff on the back, but it's still a challenge getting them used to it. Yeah. But I think you have to test. I'm notorious for, I've lit a lot of money on fire testing software where like I'll get it, start using it, and it's just too difficult maybe to use or understand, especially like on the marketing front, like you talked about. Man. And that's where I think it's getting a little crowded. There's so many out there. How do you know which ones work best for your business?
And I feel like we're getting to that point where they're all converging. They're all doing all of the things.
Right. Like CRMs is a great example, right? At first it was just Salesforce. And by the way, I don't like Salesforce. Yeah. And I think they make it purposely confusing. Yeah. You get it. And then you actually have to go hire someone to help set it up. Yeah. And then all these other ones started popping in. Yep. Right. Yeah. And they do just as much, if not more. Yep. They're month-to-month contracts. Yep. They really care about you. They really care as you as a customer. And I think, when you're a publicly traded company like Salesforce, it's really bottom line. It really is. It's to the shareholders. And so,
well, and they're selling, they're selling to the enterprise too. So that intentionally complex sales. Yeah,
I'm not exactly their, wheeler dealer, like messing with me for a couple licenses of Salesforce. Yeah. But they had a really cool tool that was like this marketing cloud, but it was like, I think you needed an engineering degree to figure out how to set it up.
That's the problem, is that a CRM sales system should not be that complicated.
Right.
We've struggled with it too. We've used them all, and what I've found is that we do a lot of work for B2B brands that are doing trying to implement lead gen programs, and your lead gen program is only as good as your sales systems, right? Yeah. And if you can drive a bunch of leads into a shitty sales flow, and it's not going to work, right? So you got to have that down, but it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. And what we find is a lot of times people will. They won't start the marketing activity because they don't understand what needs to happen with the sales systems, and they're constantly trying to create these crazy automations. And I have a saying that I say, like, you can't automate something until you've done it manually. Like, everybody wants to automate. That's great, but do it manually first, then automate it. Yeah.
So like a lot of my frame of thinking was, and I think it's most entrepreneurs that go through it, especially if you're starting out, it's like you kind of got to do a little bit of everything. Oh, yeah. And you can't solve problems if you don't really understand where they exist. Yep. And so when I first launched, I was breaking down policies, I was filling out schedules, I was doing the applications, but I was watching this workflow that I knew was how it worked, and I wanted to do it. And I thought, gosh, this is frustrating. This could be faster. This could be easier. Yeah. And I joked that we've got a bunch of different systems that we've got connected through duct tape and zip ties that work together. Okay. But you asked me earlier, is like, if I ever considered, creating my own software. Yeah. Software is changed significantly. There's a lot of money that's coming into it. We actually went through a wireframing session and spent a little bit of money to see what it would take and where we want to go. I think I'm glad that I've taken more time on this, because I think I know exactly how to solve it. It would be a perfect system. It's like, hey, if you had Front for the email, like if you had this kind of email, but then you had this, HubSpot is throwing one out for the marketing component. Then you had, Indio for the forms. It's like, there's a workflow and an easy way to do it. It's just, that's a whole nother animal when you get into software building. And what I would rather do is figure out someone that wants to get in the industry. We have a booming agency that's grown, second fastest growing business in Kansas City last year. We're continuing to grow, continuing to get the partnerships that are going to allow us to succeed. And if someone was wanting to get in that space, I know exactly what to build and how to build it. And we have a test platform that actually is in operation using it. So interesting. We'll see, because you could get started down that hole, and then next thing you know, 6 months into it, and you've deployed a bunch of money, here comes the tool that you thought was it's like, well, that's exactly what I wanted, right?
Yeah, man, software's a tricky business. I mean, anytime you're solving a problem for other people,
especially if you're not in that space. And that's one thing I've noticed with some of the groups that have created things. They don't necessarily come from our space, but they were smart and they picked a problem and they solved it. But there were things that could have been better to make it more intuitive and go from there. I'll ask you this question.
Yeah, hit me.
What do you think with the advent and more of these coming on board, these low code or no code? There's more that are coming. I've tried a couple, but again, it was too difficult for me. Yeah. It was still low code. It was enough code to make me not be able to figure it out.
That is a good question. I've spent enough time to be dangerous coding, and I have been fortunate enough to be around some really brilliant engineers. And the ones that I think are embracing no code, I have some engineers or some engineer friends that are really into no code. I'm into no code. I've actually done some live streaming on YouTube with this little.
Wait a minute, wasn't that a Pearl Jam album?
It was.
I know you're a fellow Pearl Jam fan.
It was in my opinion, it's the best Pearl Jam album. I think it's easily the most underrated.
Forget this digital. Let's talk Pearl Jam. Man.
Do you know Adam Hillen? So Adam lives in my neighborhood. He's up at Longboat all the time, dude. I guarantee you've seen him around. Oh yeah, he's a great dude, and he has been to like 25 Pearl Jam concerts. I mean, this guy's a Pearl Jam freak, and
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, we're talking about Pearl Jam. So.
Well, he said no code, and I was like, wasn't that a Pearl Jam album?
Anyway, this guy's really into Pearl Jam, and we went to a couple concerts. We saw him at Wrigley twice in the last 5 years. It's been fun.
I've seen him, I think, 3 or 4 times. That was the band that set me off to like really start loving and appreciating music. It was my senior year in high school when 10 came out.
So good, man. Well, so you asked about no code. I love no code. I think a couple things that stand out to me is I think for the startup community, I think in the last 10 years, this whole like learn to code, you have to be a developer to be an entrepreneur thing has been so overplayed. Like you do not have to be a coder to be an entrepreneur. And I think that's a big misconception. I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs and I even did it myself. You know, it's like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I need to find a technical co-founder. I need to build an app. And, there's a shit ton of businesses out there you can start with zero code. Like you don't have to be a developer. I also think that the no code, so there's a platform called Bubble that I started tinkering around with last winter. I built a couple no-code apps, and I
think I messed around with that one too.
Freaking sweet. I mean, it's cool. I will say that if you really are going to build a software company, it may be a challenge to do a no-code. But I saw someone tweet the other day that in 2022 there will be a $1 billion unicorn built on no-code, and I don't think they're probably wrong. One thing we use no-code solutions a lot, just for like automations.
Yeah, automation. That's we're looking for automation and processes.
Connecting systems together. Like someone fills out this form, send this data to there. Like you don't need a developer to do that stuff. Actually, one of the coolest companies
Zapier was
Zapier started Mizzou.
Really?
Yeah, dude. So a couple guys from Mizzou started that business. If I'm not mistaken, I could be totally talking out of my ass.
It makes sense because we know the smartest, brightest business owners come from Missouri.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Am I right?
Well, so a good friend of mine, I say good friend, I consider him a good friend. He's one of the best follows on Twitter. I would highly recommend following this guy's name is a guy named Brent Beshore.
Okay.
He went to Mizzou. He's probably our age, maybe a little younger. He's really, really active in the private equity investment space. He started a company in Colombia called Ad Ventures. And they had I think it was called Mosaic. There's like a co-working studio down on the main drag in Colombia. He started all that. And
also a great nightclub in the Power and Light.
Really?
I think. Is that still open? Sorry.
Well, I
think it's a healthcare service.
And I'd have to get him to validate this, but I think Brent was the first angel investor in Zapier.
Oh, okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'll ping him and ask him on Twitter. But anyway, the no-code thing is for real, and we use it as much as we can. It'll be really interesting to see.
So I'm curious about that. Like one of the things like one of the options we're going through that wireframe is like, build your own deal, or you could build it on the Salesforce platform.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And so, but that always scared me. And that's that's like a no code. You still have to code,
risk,
but you kind of have the widgets and things built, and you can pick and choose those.
Yeah.
But I felt like at what cost? I'm totally beholden to Salesforce, a publicly traded company. They could immediately, switch the billing model, do something. I'm not saying, again, maybe I'm a little anti big business right now. But I've seen it enough. So that was the other thing in our space. Like we were using this online tool that helped small businesses. Like you could go in, do a quick online application and get a quote. Well, then Aon bought it. And Aon's one of the biggest insurance brokers in the world. And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like now they own this platform that I'm using. And I've seen that start to happen. And that's one thing that scares me. And I get that that's the exit strategy of most software companies. It's like you raise capital, get it going. And then it's like, oh, this group buys it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you got a lot of money and you got this group to do it, but it's going to be limited as to how many people can use it. And it was solving a lot of problems and making things better for people. Yeah. But now it's up here in this big company that I actually compete with. So I don't necessarily want to use it. Same thing happened with Indio.
Yeah.
Got bought by an agency management system, which is how agency management systems are the software platforms that we pretty much live and breathe on. And they had really not been disrupted or improved. I mean, if you got into these things, you would be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like
we see that in the dental space. We have a client that's in the dental space and there's like 2 or 3 big systems in that world and everyone uses them,
right?
But they haven't done much to adapt to the web.
And so I've just, so to me, a low code, if the low code platform or no code or however you want to do it, still gives you the ability, like if I take and build something low code and I point all these today and I say it's an agency management system, can I resell that to other people, right? Yeah. Or is it just say like, look, we've built this out, and personally what I'd like to do is build something so unique and so great and avoid the opportunity to go for the cash grab and get one of these big companies to buy it, and just say, look, we're opening this up to any independent agent or broker that wants to serve their people better. Yeah. And I mean, that's great. That's like big picture. That's something I think could turn the industry upside down and deliver better outcomes for everybody. Yeah.
Well, that's a good question about the no code stuff. I think 2 things that stand out for me. One is my developer friends probably wouldn't agree with me here, but no code is just another layer of abstraction. There's no difference between building an app with no code and then there is building an app with Ruby on Rails, because Ruby on Rails is a layer of abstraction on top of, some other programming language. I mean, when you really
Ruby on Rails, I don't know what it is, but
so there's all these app development platforms. Well, that's the next level down, right? And then you go down to machine code. Like, so the guys that are writing, ones and zeros are probably gonna be like, oh, that guy writing Ruby on Rails, he's not a real programmer, right? And then the guy, or the girl writing the no code application might be looked down upon by the real developer. But so my point is it's just another layer of abstraction. Like everything boils down to ones and zeros. So if it's no code, bubble,
there's still ones and zeros. We're just not seeing them.
That's 100%.
So we made these ones and zeros to do this. Click that. Put that.
So like if you can use no code to iterate quickly without a developer, I would absolutely do it. Like if I'm starting a business today and I love developers. I'm a wannabe developer. I love tech and I love code, and some of the coolest people in my sphere are developers. We have this guy, Zach, that works with us, and this dude is a freaking, he is amazing. This guy can solve any problem, anywhere, anytime, any system. He's great.
Zach, if you're out there, give me a call.
If he were sitting here, he would probably, we would be bantering back and forth about no code.
Can we get Zach on the line?
I would love to get him on the line. We had him build a little prototype for an app that we're working on, and we discussed doing it with no code. And it's a similar concept, but it's built around Shopify. And that's a good segue to the next thing I was going to say about your comment about no code and building on Salesforce, is that this little app that we built was built on Shopify. It's an e-commerce app, and it was built on Shopify. But like you, I don't want it to be a Shopify thing only. So, longer term, if it gets traction, we'll port it to BigCommerce and some of the other ones. But we had to niche down and start somewhere.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point too. It's it doesn't mean like sometimes it's a much cheaper barrier to entry to try something.
Yeah.
See if it gains some traction versus deploying all these resources to build something may not work. And
rebuild it later.
You can always rebuild it later.
For sure. All right, so let's switch gears. I want to hear about traction and EOS and how that's helped you.
I just said traction. Good segue.
Yeah. So what's we've tried traction. I love it. I love the concept. Man, it's a challenge to implement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. I think anything is a challenge to implement that is really forcing the leaders of an organization to really be honest and dissect every, it can be overwhelming to really grasp and then think, gosh, there's a lot of work to do and there's a lot of things to go. Much like anything, I guess that would be like anything you implement in your business, right?
Yeah.
Like if I bring in a new software tool, I got to learn how to do it. I got to sit down with the team. I got to go through with it. I got to create processes and systems to do it. I think EOS, what it does, the thing I like about EOS is it's a much, when you look at your vision traction organizer, your VTO, it's a one page. It's very clear and concise as to what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And instead of, goal setting and these things over here, you can really, the idea behind traction is to gain traction, right? To start improving processes and systems. And so I think it's impossible to implement on your own. I really do. I read the book, sat with my partner. We had monthly, weekly meetings where we were going through and trying to identify these things. And finally, we just raised the white flag and we brought in Lindsay Howerton. She's an outsourced COO and she's got an EOS background. She certainly understands that. And so, it's a process of just biting off a little bit at a time. But when we got towards the end, it was like, so much clear expectations.
Think it's good having an objective third party?
Yeah, objective third party is great too, especially if you have partners. Just trying to figure out, well, what are our values? And then people are like, well, everybody's doing values. I was like, yeah, but everybody does values, but it's a pretty good way to just say like, hey, here's our 4 values. If you're ever doing anything in this organization that does not match with these, that, and I know that, we all know that, and we're going to hold you accountable to that.
Yeah.
And it's like anything. It's like, you constantly see it, you live it, you breathe it. But there are so many different check the boxes things in our business. And some more mature organizations, like one of the things I noticed when I was at this big agency was that I didn't think we did a very good job of helping us succeed as producers in the sense of, like here's 10 things that have to be done before you quote it. Here's this. So you just create these process systems and everybody's held accountable, but it's living and it's breathing and it's malleable. And you'll be like, you know what, we got that on there, but maybe we need to take that off. And you're getting great feedback. Yeah. And honestly, it's also it's a great way if you've had some time with a group to see who's on board and who's not. Yeah. And then when you're checking in on your regular EOS meetings and you're like, here's everybody had some responsibilities. Like, did you get it done? Did you not? Yeah. And it's like, okay, why didn't you get it done?
How often do you meet with, is it Lindsay? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. So Lindsay will re-engage here shortly. So we went through a transition where I moved so sort of a transition to everything flowing through my agency. So Lovell and Sagebrush were separate entities. They still are separate entities. We had a shared P&L, shared expenses. And with Joe eventually wanting to retire and move out, we decided to run it all through my entity now. Even though we're still together and still partners, this was that transition. So we needed to get that done. And so now we're ready to kick back up. But I've kicked off a couple of EOS meetings already where we're still tracking on some of the goals and things that we want. But, there's other tools out there. It's one that was brought to me by a CEO group that I've been a part of. And when I saw it, I was like, yes, this is how I can take all these things in my brain and get them on paper.
I love it. I mean, any organization we try to run it here. We've not been great at it. We can always get better.
That's another thing it does. It pushes you to weekly get better. Yeah. I mean, grow and evolve and solve problems and issues.
It does. Whenever I look at a business, like it's hard for me now not to put a business into that framework. Like when I see it, when I talk to an entrepreneur or see a business or even, if I'm like, I don't know, I'm watching Shark Tank, I'll be like, oh, I wonder, it's a good way of breaking down a business simple,
Well, there's so many things you don't know when you're getting ready to go run a business. And everybody's personality is different, and certainly my skill set. That's the other thing. It leans heavily on right people, right seat, understanding personalities.
Yep.
Like so many people are in jobs or careers right now that really don't vibe with who they are, and they're miserable.
Yeah.
Where you might find that person's really good over here. Let's get them in a position where they're good. And that has been very clear and revealing as well. Yeah. And we did, once you understand how people operate, how they hear, how they learn, how they're motivated, how they're not motivated, how you can talk to them, how do you handle conflict resolution, just all those different things. It just empowers you as a leader to really reach your people. Yeah. And again, create this living, breathing organism that can grow together. Yeah. But I got a buddy that just bought they're getting ready to start a new company, and I could see one's the visionary, the aggressive, the sales guy, and one's more the numbers guy and the operations guy. And they talk a lot about integrators. Yeah. And, an integrator is a key role for a visionary CEO like me, because my thoughts are just, crazy. And if I went to the team with them, they'd probably go, "What? I don't know what he's even talking about." Yeah. Yeah. But the integrator can help do that. And so I always give, a lot of our clients, I give them a book about traction.
Have you read Rocket Fuel, the follow-up?
Yeah. I read Rocket Fuel. But I was telling them, I said, you're getting ready to go into this thing. I was like, here's a great book. And it's landscaping company, but it's established landscaping company. And so
it's a great,
processes and systems. I was like, this is going to help you understand, Brandon. You're different than he is. He's going to be kind of more operations. You're going to be more grow. Yeah. I was like, start thinking through those things about where you might have conflict. Things are going to bother you, things are going to bother him, and that will help you guys see the value in each other. Yeah, that's great. It's really easy not to see the value of your partner. It's very easy to get into the, my way is the way kind of a thing. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, that's a good segue into talking about leadership. I want to talk about your dad. I know that you've got always ends up with my dad.
I know you got a great relationship with your pop, and I caught your podcast where you read the letter. It was great.
You're not gonna make me read that again.
No, but I got a cool.
I won't be able to get through it.
I got a cool story about your dad. I don't know your dad well. I know him. He probably wouldn't recognize me or even know who I am. But so I was at Subway maybe a year or two ago. Up there in the Longview area. Yeah. And I walk in and it was one of those days where I had an order for 15 people, right? I had
You're that guy.
Yeah. I think we were all at the pool, and I was I'll run and get Subway sandwiches. It was 6 kids, 4 adults. And anyway, I had this big long list of shit I was going to order, and your dad walked in right behind me, and I'm just getting ready to start rattling off my order. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm like, why don't you go ahead of me? Because this is going to take an hour, And he was by himself, and I think he just got off his bike. And
this is Saturday.
Yeah, and he was
his routine is Subway on Saturdays.
Okay, well, yeah, it was definitely Saturday then. He was like, well, you sure? And I was like, yeah, of course, man, go ahead. And he went through the line, got a sandwich, and I ordered my 15 sandwiches, and he freaking paid for all of them. And I was like, that's the nicest thing,
he's
man.
giving somebody money. He doesn't. I'm not seeing all this. I thought I talked to him about not spending all that retirement before he dies. What in the world?
I thought that was a classic example of pay it forward. Your dad's, done a lot. So tell me about that relationship.
Well, I'd say that's not unique. But if it's you are special. But that's just that's something I grew up with. I think that's the foundation that he was raised on from his parents, and he's done as much as possible to pass it on to me. It's taken me a lot longer to resonate and hear some of those things. But my dad's a throwback. Yeah. I look at what he did in the city of Lee Summit, and I won't go through his whole story, but we moved to Lee Summit in '78. He's parks director for 30 years when he retired in 2000 or 40 years or whatever it is. Retired in 2018, and he did it right. Yeah. He did things. He never did what was just easy or convenient or would benefit him. He always, he just had this moral
compass
that always kept him on the straight and narrow in a time where you didn't have as much scrutiny, right? In a time where you didn't have as much opportunity to get called out for, backroom deals, city politics. I mean, that stuff's nasty. It's a guy that did it right. And, he had this foundation that was just built on doing what's right. And he found a career that he was passionate in. Yeah. I'm convinced my dad could have been the CEO of a private company or done something and made more. And my dad was never motivated by money. He was motivated by family, his routines, his exercise, his health. He loved developing and creating, and the park system gave him the ability to do that.
I still see him on the bike all the time.
Oh, he's 72 years old. He's better shape than I am. I mean, guys, but that's, he lives. Yeah. He lives every day. Yeah. Like, he loves the routines. He loves it. He's fallen in love with the things that make his life fulfilling, that have nothing to do with money. Yeah. Money is the byproduct of the work that he does, but it allows him to live the life there. And they're down in Florida right now. But he's a great leader and a great man. And, he got his name on a building in Lee Summit. And I just, I'm lucky to have that kind of influence in person to look to. And
that's cool.
As a leader and a father.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, like I said, I don't know him well, but that moment was like, that's pretty.
Did he know you were ordering 15 sandwiches?
That's why I told him to go ahead. Well, when he paid for it, I was like, actually throw these on there too. Get some cookies.
It's like when it backfires and you're at the coffee shop. It's like, oh, no, I'll get you. And there's like, I need 10 mocha latte cheese or chais or whatever. And it's like, well, okay, I guess I'm the drip coffee guy. So I don't ever think about what it can cost when you offer to buy someone.
That's funny stuff.
Coffee, but he does. It's funny. My dad just loves little. Like I remember one. He always does these things over Christmas, but one of them was so he wrote this letter down, but then he gave us all. He gave us like a set amount of cash, and it was like $20 bills, and there were 5 of them. And he's like, the only thing you have to do with that is you have to give that to someone that you see or touch on a regular basis that you wouldn't otherwise do because you appreciate what they do. Okay. And for me, it was one of the gals in the coffee shop that's always there every morning. I was like, look, this is nothing. It's not groundbreaking. It's not. And I had a little card. Yeah. And I said, I appreciate you. Yeah. And I said, cool. Every day I come in here, and every day everybody comes in here. And this is like one of the highlights of everybody's morning. It's like, it's our energy boost. It's our coffee. My name. I'm familiar. It means a lot. Yeah, for sure. And sometimes you take that for granted. And I really thought about it there at the coffee shop is when Steve died, the owner. Yeah. Suddenly. Yeah. And it tore me up emotionally. And I thought, gosh, other than going into that coffee shop, but he became a friend. Yeah. He just always cared about. And so my dad's always doing things like that. And I think if there's anything, we all probably realize we need to do more of that in this world. There's so much division and just trying to pay it forward and be nice and, treat people like you would want to be treated Amen. Especially coming out of this, we have a sort of new lease on that opportunity, starting, from scratch with this, with sort of this, COVID thing, knock on wood, hopefully being kind of behind us now. You can kind of start over and do that pay it forward stuff again. I've tried to start doing it. It's great. All right. I want to ask you one last sort of topic or question. And this is more for, me just selfishly. I want to know, what your experience has been like with content and video and your podcast and what, I guess, and that's a broad topic. So let me distill it down a little bit. Ryan's like, I'm out of here. I want to know. We're looking for an outsourced marketing person. If you know,
you guys have, you guys have done a great job. I mean, second fastest growing company in Kansas City this year. You're doing really well on LinkedIn. It's valuable content.
Hardest part is being consistent. Ryan will say that too. I'll be honest with you. I went through this and Ryan saw it firsthand, but it was like after, through the election, through the COVID, through the holidays, all this craziness going on and all I really soured on social media, right? Yeah. Like I felt like there was too much attention in it. Everybody was in there and it was just so polarizing that it was kind of, I don't know, my mental frame was just a little bit off. Yeah. And then I thought, well, that's what they want you to do. They want the good guys, the people that are really trying to take opportunities to deliver content that's valuable. Like for me, it's more of like, how can I educate people on what it's like to be a business owner? Know that not all business owners are, because small business owners get lumped into business owners that, people scream and yell about. But it's like, I think if we can do more to show people how we're being, conscientious about, the teams we're building and conscious capitalism, right? Things that we're doing. And so social media gives us a great platform to do that. I will tell you that the biggest challenge for a group like me is like, okay, what you want to talk about no code or engaging a group to help you, like where it gets out, goes over my head is like, lead generation and, like you could put stuff out, but how are you funneling that if someone clicks it and do this and then you need this tool and then it's like, God, I don't have time to learn how to use that tool. So you find someone like Ryan or even like a group like yours that are the experts in it, that understand it, that can really lay it out in a way that it's not too confusing. You understand the cost of, the capital that's going to cost to implement these things and leaning on those experts outside, to help you deliver that messaging and to be consistent with it. And we've got a couple ththings that we're going to do that are completely outside the box. So, I mean, I was early on in LinkedIn and found a lot of success with it. And now I think, it's like, geez, it's like, it's tough to sift through the, the crap from the meaningful content that you want. But I just, I think it's more, I'm going to go back to Gary Vee. I mean, it's like document, don't create. It's like you got to be consistent and you got to keep putting it out. And I haven't been the past few months, but it's also tough being at the top, having my hand in so many different things. Like, how do I get people continually booked and how do I keep creating content that's valuable? And I think
the document don't create thing is an interesting line of thinking, because I think a lot of people, people want to create content and it's a buzzword right now. You got to be doing content marketing. Everybody wants to do content marketing. But I think this document build out in the open thing is starting to catch on. And one of the things that we're trying to get better at is like, especially with marketing and digital and tech, it's like, we don't have all the answers. Like we're learning as we go too. And I think at least I hope.
Wait a minute. You're Answer Media.
Yeah.
You don't have all the answers.
It's a constant search, right? It's a constant search for the answers. The only way to get to the answers is to know how to ask the right questions. Right. So, we are doing a lot of building out in the open and, learning and experimenting and, hopefully it pays off. And our strategy is that we get a lot of questions about, well, what's your process? Like, how do you guys do digital marketing? And the only way to really show that is to like do it. So we're building a couple of products out in the open. We are tinkering and testing with some e-commerce stores, doing it out in the open, and we're going to fail. Like a lot of shit's not going to work. And, I'm hoping that, that it comes through in the content that people find it valuable. So what advice would you give to, somebody else that's in, the SMB B2B space about creating content? Like what's the one thing you wish you knew a year and a half ago?
Well, I think you got to be authentic.
Yeah.
I think if you're using it as a sales mechanism or like, I think, my content was about insurance all the time. Because we're in a business that there is a personal relationship. I'm trying to connect with people that share values, people that like how we operate and what we do and feel comfortable in our services. And so I would think anybody that was trying to put content out there, if you're doing those things, you're actually starting to create a human connection. We need more human connections. Human connections are what ultimately help people make that deal. But I now have the opportunity to start showing people who and what I am. And that might have the opportunity to resonate. Plus, it's that opportunity when you are somewhere that you run into them. It's like, oh, I really liked your interview with your dad, or I really liked your interview with them. It's like, that's great.
Conversation piece.
Yeah, because I'm just being revealing. I'm just showing who I am. I believe that we are, I don't think there's anybody in this city or in the country that can, that we can't do what they can do in this business space. So now it becomes down to, it's like, how do we differentiate and who do you want to work with and who's going to stand by your side? And so I would tell people that the content that you're creating really needs to resonate with just who and what you are, what separates you, not product, not salesy, and just being authentic. And I think the document don't create thing, and I'll get into this too, is I want everything to be perfect. Like I want the studio to be perfect and look so cool. And, probably because I was tired of seeing, the videos of, somebody talking into the video or whatever. But again, as simple as just a post sharing who you are, what you are, and creating that human connection. Because in the end, people are going to do business with you because you're really good at what you do. Right. So I don't ever think that me hosting a podcast and bringing an owner of a business in is like, oh, well, cool. I want to be on. Now, if I had like Joe Rogan's following and his business wanted to come on and I could move the needle to like crush his revenue. I might understand that. But I'm like, I want to tell more of their stories, more of our stories, share those experiences, because I also think the younger generation could seize upon these opportunities. I'm telling you what people need as business owners, right? I mean, the opportunity to do a lot of different things, like a lot of different skills. There's so many things in an insurance agency. Like we have a marketing department, we have great content, we do video. Yes, we sell insurance, but we've got really cool technology that we use. We really are helping people. We have fun. We celebrate success together. And that's the stuff you push out to help people understand who and what you are.
That's a great point. I mean, there are a lot of like every business is a media company right now. You know, every business is a tech company. Like you could work for, your lawn care company, right? That like
good at math. We need some help with accounting. Good at graphic design. You know what would be great? Have someone that was like worked in insurance and could also graphic design. Or I mean, there's just so many ways that you can help businesses now, and you don't even have to be part of the organization. You can share the values and be someone that's valuable. That's a great point over here to somebody in this room that
Ryan,
seen in
RPI
the video.
Creative. Check it out. I mean, honestly, a little plug for Ryan. We were not good at this. I mean, we've tried this 2 or 3 times, and when I tried to do this the first time,
what do you mean weren't good at it?
I tried to do this podcast shit myself 2 years ago, and we got 5 or 6 episodes in, and I got out over my skis, and we started at audio, and then we were like, oh, we can add video. Like, how hard can that be? And it's really fucking hard.
So one of the things, I mean, I think you got to, just like you've got to give the opportunity for your clients to work how they want, you also need to give everybody the opportunity to consume the content in any way, shape, or form that they want. So like one of the things that we're working on for this upcoming season is transcribing all of that, putting it in a written form. So it's also a written piece of content, supplemented by the video, plus also on the podcast.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Now, I mean, because you transcribe all of this, there's great little nuggets in there that we can use. And so you're giving people a way to consume it however
we should
they
do
feel
that. We should have Caleb do that. That'd be a great way to take this.
Kind of an idea, guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like it.
I won't charge you for that one.
I'll get you back sometime.
The other thing you mentioned real quick, and when you're just talking about like Shopify, and I believe, and it's, I just think there's so many ways for businesses to have businesses within businesses. That's like the innovation and creation. It's like we have this entity that supports us and allows us to live, but we can also have fun doing different things. I think that's why so many people, wanted to come work with us or be a part of this team, is because we're constantly doing cool stuff. Like, I mean, it's possible that in the arena, it turns into a full-blown media brand. I mean, that's my goal. I want more people talking on it. I want more people taking things. I want more content. I mean, there's just so many things that we can do with it, and it's fun. And I believe that even if we couldn't monetize it, the information we're putting out is so worthwhile to the country right now that I feel like we're doing God's work sometimes out there trying to share this stuff.
I couldn't agree more, man. I think, that's kind of where we're at here, is trying, the goal here for us is to this isn't like, we're not doing this so that we can sell digital marketing services. There's 2 goals. One is for us to learn from the people that we bring on. And 2 is to start conversations, right? And if we do this, for a year and start 52 conversations like this, then that will grow exponentially into however many other new conversations. That's the way I'm thinking about it. And, we'll get questions like, well, is this turning into leads? I don't really care right now. That's not the point. If we get, later on down the line, this is planting seeds, having conversations, and learning, So
learning is, it's continual. I mean, that's like purpose in life, right? It's a continual evolution as a human, like who I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s, but that you only get there by learning and experiencing things. And how I think now versus how I thought then is completely different. So I still think there's hope for that younger generation.
Yeah, me too.
Get your heads out of your ass. No,
that's the clip from the beginning of the video, for sure. Well,
what
man,
do they say in the radio shows? Mark that.
Yeah, mark that. That's right. I got to get that. We need to get to.
I do want that. And if I could turn it into a button where I'm in a meeting and I just go, get your head up.
That I love that. That's perfect, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. It's been long overdue. I really am glad you came out. Everybody, John Lovell, Lovell Sagebrush. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah. Dude. Well, thanks for having me, Ryan.
Appreciate it.